WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have something from Hart Brothers. Interesting. Single malt Scotch whiskey from Strathisla. Wow, 9 years old? Nah. So November 2010 distilled and in June 2020 then bottled. So it is 53.8%. Yay. It is 70 euros. Nah. And it is matured in a first fill Armagnac butt. Ooh, Armagnac. The little brother of cognac. And it's Whiskybase number 171821, to be honest. So this is the same color the sherry has, so with the orange. And at the moment, the Hart Brothers have a few different bottles that they just threw on the market, at least over here in Germany. A few of those would be, for example, they have a Dalmor 14-year-old that was actually in an ex-bourbon cask. They have a Mortlach 16 years old, also in a bourbon cask. And they have here a Pulteney in a first fill sherry, 15 years old, and Daluin 13 years old in the first fill port cask. Interesting. So, and the new exclusive is at least by Dein Whiskey, D-E-I-N, which is a German brand. Dein Whiskey, your whiskey, is a Glendronach, so first fill sherry. Interesting. So this Armagnac really spoke to me. Why? Because I found another bottle a couple of months ago that I fell in love with. Is it a single malt? Yes. Is it a single malt Scotch? No. It's a single malt Irish whiskey. This is an independent bottler. This is from Germany. This is Kaspa, Ralf Kaspa, and they have their own little Lichtborg. It's a new series. We used to have something called the Essenerhof, and this was actually aged for 15 years in an ex-Armagnac cask. This is 57.5%. This is 100 euros basically, and 15 years old, and this is basically 70 euros and only 9 years old. Now, Strathisla belongs to Pernod Ricard, and my whole time I'm just thinking, why? Why in all the world would Pernod Ricard give up one of their Strathisla barrels? Now, Strathisla, they just discontinued for about half a year ago, the 12-year-old. And now they are sending out barrels to independent bottlers. How did that work out? Now, I have a few different conspiracy theories. Number one, Hart Brothers have a great connection with Pernod Ricard, and they actually went to this Strathisla, and they said, here's my barrel of Armagnac. Please fill it up with your spirit, and I will let it age as long as I want, and I will sell it with the name Strathisla. Could have happened. I don't know. Or maybe they basically, Pernod Ricard filled up this Armagnac cask and went, ooh, that's not what we want to go. They sold it off to someone. So who knows? Now, maybe, and this is a very big maybe, some of this spirit was first of all in maybe an ex-bourbon cask, and they bought it, and they re-racked it into a first fill Armagnac, because in Scotland, only the last cask has to be mentioned. So nowhere do I read that it was a full maturation in this cask. It does say here, first Armagnac but filled. It does say Hart Brothers personally check every cask to ensure that nothing comparison there under. Wow, I actually bought a magnifying glass. I have to go put it up over here. The spirit of excellence, to ensure that nothing compares their whatever. I'm sorry, forgive me. I might be able to read it here instead. To this day, each and every cask is checked to ensure that nothing compromises. Wow, I can read now. Hart Brothers' enduring spirit of excellence. That's very, very good. Thank you. Established in 1964, Hart Brothers specializes in the bottling of very fine and rare single malt Scotch whiskies. Together, brother Donald and Alistair brought nearly a century of flair and expertise. I was really flair? Okay, yeah, and expertise to the selection of some of the most exceptional malt whiskies to be found anywhere in Scotland. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, I actually reviewed for about a month or two ago their standard 14-year-old port and their sherry. Both were lacking, in my personal opinion. I know a lot of people that love their old expressions, and the new expressions just didn't live up to the reputation that they had. This is unfortunately the same problem that I have. I expected excellence, and I received below excellence, in my personal opinion. I bought the bottle myself. I did not get this as a gift. I can say anything I want basically about what I experienced with this bottle. My own tasting notes. Now, the first thing I got, and I still get, is I basically have tree branch green. So you basically take a birch tree, you take off the bark, and then you have that green moment underneath there. That's what I get first. Behind that greenness, I do get something interesting. And that interesting moment is probably going to be the Armagnac. So what I have here is I have a whiskey that was matured 15 years in an Armagnac cask. I like. What I have here is from SMWS A2.2 Armagnac. This is 40-year-old Armagnac that SMWS, I'm sorry, filled up. This is my little, I have a little glass here that I used in my German video. I'm going to top it up a tiny little bit. I know what Armagnac should taste like, except, well, I know what excellent Armagnac should taste like. This 40-year-old was picked by SMWS. This bottle was picked and selected by Jack Teeling himself, or at least it says here, it says provided by Jack Teeling in Dublin. Thank you very much, Jack. And so this is a beautiful, beautiful expression of what Armagnac can be. For those of you that do not know enough about Armagnac, very, very briefly, I would like to go here and talk about that, if I may. So we have, for example, Armagnac. It's very, very interesting. The German page is better than the English page at Wikipedia, at least. What we have here is, for me, the wood, which is very, very interesting. So what we have is basically Cognac uses old barrels time and time again. Armagnac only uses fresh barrels each time. Fresh barrels means, in this case, there are barrels between 225 liters and 420 liters made from this black oak from the Gascogne region of France. So this is European oak. And for these casks, the wood is cut and aged for 6 years outside before it's actually turned into a cask. So it's air dried for a total of 6 years. That's a long, long time. And each and every time, for each and every harvest of Armagnac, they actually then use these new casks. And these new casks give this brandy, this Armagnac, basically, this bouquet, as well as this amber color that we have here. So, very, very good. So usually about 6 to 8 years is where it stays in the cask. The older it's in the cask, the better is the Armagnac. So you have the VS, the very special. You have the VPOS, the very superior old pale. And you have the XO, which of course is extra old. And so these are the Armagnac that's used. I'm not really sure that the cask here that was used is superior to this cask. This cask smells and just is a better experience for me personally. Now, one last thing before I do this and try this, I always like to have a little bit of an interesting moment here. Now, imagine you actually had this cask. Let's say it's a 250-liter cognac cask. And from this 250 liters, this is a cask strength product. You're going to get about maybe 280 bottles from that. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But let's say it's 280 bottles. Now imagine you actually paid, I'm going to do the math real quick here. I'm sorry. 280, So imagine you paid 2,800 euros for this Armagnac cask. Now that price is astronomically high. You're paying about 1,000 euros for a very big sherry butt, 500 liters, and you're not paying anything above 1,500 euros for this. Let's just say 1,500 euros. All right, so 1,500 euros for this Armagnac cask. So I take the 1,500, I divide it by 280, and I get a price of, wow, I didn't do the math right there. So 1,500 divided by 280, I get a price here of about 5 euros. So the wood here might cost 5 euros. Now the price of this whiskey is 70 euros. So even if we factor out everything else, that's a lot of money, which is not from the spirit and not from the cask, the wood itself. Which is somewhere going someplace for this whiskey that is only 9 years old. So there you don't have much angel share after 9 years. Even if you have a 3% share, 9 years, you could actually have 25% there. That's the absolute max. Usually you have 2%, so it's maybe more like 18%, which is gone. Now maybe the wood did soak up a little bit more the first year or so, but after that it actually is not that bad over there in Scotland normally. All right, talked a lot. I do get a vanilla. I do get an orange zest moment. I do get a little bit of an herbal moment here. Think Ricola, the Swiss cough drop a little bit. The 53% are evident, to say the least. All right, let's finish this up with the final tasting of this whiskey. Cheers. Mm. It's got a lot of heat. It doesn't have, it has heat. And I wouldn't expect anything else from a 9-year-old 53% product. There is something there. This is the Armagnac that's coming through. For me, it's more of an orange, as I talked about, Ricola, this herbal moment coming through. It's got some bite and it's got some tasty moments there. This is something which is unique. I'm sure there are many people out there are going to try this and go, no, thank you. And other people are going to try this and go, this is my favorite whiskey in the world, maybe. That's what happened to me with the Lichborg. I tried this and it was like, I had no idea what to expect and I just fell in love. And that was beautiful. Here I have a lot more of a woody, orangey type of moment. A lot more of an orangey type of moment than I would actually expect, to be honest. An orange zest, an orange liqueur, a little bit in that direction. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try the 40-year-old Armagnac that I have here. Don't forget, Armagnac is made out of grapes. And single malt is, of course, made out of barley. So grain, grape, totally different material that's made out of. But yet the wood, that 80% of the flavor transportation and flavor creation is the wood. And that really happens here after 40 years in a fairly new black oak, French oak cask. Really nice. All right, so going back here, a tiny little cleansing the palate. To our cognac, I'm going to put a little bit of water in this. Take it down to about 48, 46%. I had already added water. I had added water twice. I took it down like 38 to 40%. There's this weird funkiness going on there, but it's not a Springbank funk. It's a Armagnac funk. There's a dryness. There's a sawdusty moment. There's an orange. It's like an artificial orange Kool-Aid moment that's going on in here. This really isn't my cup of tea. I'm going to give this a C-. And for value for money, I'm going to give it a D. I don't think 70 euros for a 9-year-old whiskey, even though it is cask strength at 53.8%, is the appropriate price range. Knock it down 20, 25 euros, I would think about it again. But I was so impressed by this whiskey, I said, oh, it's Armagnac. And that's my question of the day. What other whiskeys have you had, or can you actually recommend, that have an Armagnac finish, or a full maturation for that matter, like this whiskey over here? This is still my favorite whiskey of the year from Ireland. I love the Lichborg one, the Armagnac, 15 years old. This was one of, I don't know, 532 some bottles. I own 4 of these myself. I shared 2 of these. I've drank half a bottle myself, basically. I have 1 or 2 bunkered away, stored away for rainy days. This is just absolute, for me, heaven. This is a fantastic, fantastic whiskey. I think I've talked a lot about it a little bit too much for this video itself, but very, very nice. All right, if I got any of my facts wrong, oh, by the way, Pernod Ricard owns the Armagnac brand Martel, which I did not know, and so they actually have the cognac brand Martel, and they also have some Armagnac as well with that, and so they have access to these casks, so that makes sense. All right, Whiskey Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany, giving this whiskey a C-, value for money, more of a D+. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, tell others, and maybe even share this video. And my question of the day was and is, what other Armagnac finished single malt products do you know of that I should try or get my hands on? Thank you very much for watching. All the best. Bye-bye.